Shifting the discussion from government to industry now, I'm hopeful that all companies in BC will now get behind the upholding of Indigenous rights. Hopefully I'm speaking to the choir for the people in this room for the most part, but just in case, I really do think we need to get beyond worrying about legal wrangling, sorry to all the lawyers in here, and onto relationship building, because the bottom line is the companies that are succeeding with major projects in this country right now are the ones who worked hard in an attempt to reach consent with First Nations on whose rights they impact. So in my opinion, there's no reason to be overly concerned about the legislation, that it is finally trying to lay the groundwork to resolve outstanding rights and title. The past 2 centuries of avoidance has led to roadblocks and impasses. It has led to a reputation of being unable to get projects through in this province and country, and it has led to major uncertainty. There are many outstanding questions because, of course, this legislation doesn't fix the underlying issues we all have a role in to resolve, and there is an anxiety about continued lack of certainty when we're speaking about free and prior and informed consent. What will it really look like? Will there be a First Nation veto? And while industry has some legitimate concerns, it also has a huge opportunity to do better. Social license and Indigenous consent is not an entitlement for companies. They have to earn these things in a time when there is huge galvanization in our country about our transitioning economy and concerns about climate change and a sustainable future for all of us. The resolution of rights and title does not equate to support of controversial projects, but it can set a better framework to engage on these projects in a way that ensures that First Nations benefit and protect the impact on their rights, some of which are environmental. I mentioned LNG Canada earlier, but another example has been wood fiber LNG, where Squamish was provided with the ability to engage on and review the impacts to their rights and impact the design to minimize those impacts. So ultimately they were able to give their consent to that project. But I believe that if we confront these issues head on collectively, we can lead the way nationally and internationally for having projects that have the highest environmental standards and respect human rights. And I really do believe we can set the stage and end up in a place where we all benefit and are really proud with how we develop our natural resources. And we have many risks ahead of us that can derail this fragile seed, I think, that's germinating, and I think we all need to help incubate it. This legislation is only as good as the action we put behind it, and we need to be very thoughtful about the action plan we create. This needs to be more than a legal exercise, in my opinion. Again, apologies to all the lawyers here. Any continued reticence from government or industry about the need to fully recognize and respect Indigenous rights is just adding further delay and uncertainty to the work ahead, in my opinion. Although I've outlined my views about government and industry opportunities and obligations, it's really First Nations who have the largest burden here, in my opinion. Not only do we need to focus on the external side of reconciliation with governments and civil society while reacting to proposed projects in our territories, we need to sort out our own affairs internally. We need to outline our vision, including engaging with our grassroots citizens to develop acceptable approaches to creating an economy and a governance structure, an approach that has legitimacy with our own people. I think this governance work is key for First Nations sustainability, and speaking as a former chief, this development work is the hardest work to get to and to sustain, but this is the work that will enable success. I hope that First Nations can rise to the occasion and take advantage of the opportunity that's presented itself. First Nations need to come to the table that has been set for them, and this is some of the hardest work that anyone can do anywhere. But I know so many leaders who've been waiting for the opportunity to advance this work for their communities, and we should all work hard to take advantage of this low-hanging fruit. Because let's remember that UNDRIP also has provisions for Indigenous economic rights in Indigenous communities and territories. So, in conclusion, I'm hopeful that this legislation really is the marker of the tide change we all need to see and experience, and that we will lead the country and the world on how to respect the environment and Indigenous rights while ensuring we have prosperity for everyone to share in. But there are no shortcuts. Hard work lies ahead. I think it's worth it though. I think of Bella, my daughters, and other Tsawwassen youth who have a whole different future in front of them because of Tsawwassen's desire to set out on a different path. We can change things in this country and this province, and we should. The solutions to our issues are only limited by our creativity, in my opinion. Thanks for listening to my thoughts on this legislation and reconciliation more broadly. Hi, Chika. Hi, Sapka.